Hi, Dad. Welcome back to another episode of Dave and Andy's Honest About Life. How are you?
I'm doing well, Andy. Thank you. It's another beautiful day here in Minnesota.
It, is it snowing?
Yeah, it just got done. Well, it's kind of sleeting and drizzling. We got about 3 to 4 inches here.
So, are you all going to break a record in snowfall this year?
It's going to get close. 98.6, I think, is the record for the Twin Cities officially, and we're going to get close because we have another big storm coming the end of this week.
You all must have just about had enough of that.
Everybody is so fed up. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, I've seen some fairly disgusted looks on everybody's faces because of how bad it's been this year. And it's not been that cold. We've had a couple of really cold spells, but really the temperature's not been bad. It's just the mild and all the snow. I mean, every couple of days it seems like we're shoveling, and I'm breaking my back.
It's quite remarkable. You think about meteorological winter, I think you would agree it's from December, January, and February. And I think the first time in history for where we're at here in Virginia, we didn't see a trace of snow over those 3 months.
Wow.
So it's remarkable, not because I want you to feel bad about all the snow you're getting, but that we didn't have a single trace of snow, which
Yeah,
is
that's unusual. That is
hard.
unusual for you guys. You have mountains there in Virginia, and up in the mountains, they must have had some snow.
They did. They did.
Yeah.
So as that weather's coming from west to east, it encounters that mountain range, the Blue Ridge Mountains, part of the Appalachians. So I think that takes the energy out of it. And so the snow
Yeah.
doesn't hit the eastern side as much as it does on the western side. Yeah.
It's called the shadow of the mountain range. Any mountain range has a shadow effect, and it's downstream. The air gets lifted up over the mountains, and that's where all the moisture comes out, and then it dries as it comes down the other side, and that shadow side is usually dry, and that's what's happening to you.
That makes a lot of sense. I suppose that's true up in like the state of Washington. I think I've heard it's really green and lush on the west side, and there's actually desert, arid,
Yeah,
arid environment. Yeah, on the east.
absolutely. Yep.
So because we're on the topic, Dad, global warming versus climate change. There has been, and obviously you've been in this world for many, many years. This is something that you've shared in previous conversations about, you cared about weather since you were just a young boy. Now you see what's happening with the conversation about should it be called global warming or should it be called climate change, and the amount of money that is being spent on both sides of the argument about whether there's really anything happening at all or that we're just in the middle of a really long cycle that we're likely to experience again in 50 or 100 years. Do you have a position on that?
As you know, Andy, I do. Very passionate. A lot of people are very passionate about their beliefs in this particular subject. And unfortunately, humans, we don't have enough of a database. For our measured weather stuff, it goes back maybe 150, 200 years. And that's just a blink of an eye in the life of this planet. And humans like to believe we're very egotistical beings, and we like to believe that we make a difference. We like to believe that we are changing something. That's just what we like. We want to feel important. And I think in this particular thing, and I have studied it for years and years and years, and I've gotten into all kinds of debates about it. And as you said, long cycles, short cycles, I believe that our climate is based on cycles, and a lot of it is due to the sun cycle. All of our energy, all of it comes from the sun. If we didn't have the sun, we wouldn't be here. So obviously the sun is very important to our climate. So very small changes in the amount of energy that the sun puts out with sunspots and solar flares, small changes in the amount of solar flares, the amount of sunspots changes the amount of energy that arrives at Earth. And that to me is the key. But unfortunately, we can't do anything about that. So, people want to say, well, we change the weather. Something that we can change is carbon. We can change how much carbon we put in the atmosphere. But carbon is actually a very small part of the global warming gases that we have around this planet. The majority is water vapor, about 98%. About 2% is carbon. Well, it's less than 2%. And then of that 2%, humans contribute about 2%. So about 4/10,000ths of the global warming greenhouse gases that are around this planet, only about 4/10,000ths are humans responsible for. That number is very small, but people say it doesn't take much to tip the balance. Well, over all of our computer models that the scientists have used to try to come up with what's going to happen in the future have all been overestimating the amount of warming that's going to take place. They've all overestimated the amount of warming that's actually happened. And I think it's very difficult. There's so many, and I'm rambling on here, but there's so many variables that are involved with that particular equation. It's very difficult for us to come up with a concrete answer of what's going on. And I believe, as you mentioned, one of the things is the long cycle. We could be in a 150-year cycle that we haven't gone through yet. We haven't gone through the length of it yet, as far as accurately measuring the weather and what goes on.
Sure. I understand that. So, Dad, and like you said, you have debated this issue for years, and there are some passionate voices on both sides of the issue, and it rises to the level of politics. It is a source of a ton of political discourse, right? It is, the amount of energy that we spend arguing and debating and capturing data is remarkable. But you did mention carbon. I know that methane, escaping from the currently melting permafrost, from cows for that matter, from exhaust from airplanes and automobiles, from the Amazon forest, and the deforestation. There's just so many, like you say, so many potential contributors, not only to potentially climate change, but to the whole conversation. And what would be wonderful to see is if the passion that people have for both sides could just agree that whatever moves we make in the right direction are the right moves, are the ones that we can both agree need to be done anyway, regardless if they have the size of an impact on our Earth, on the atmosphere, as we say they do. Regardless of all that, some things are the right things to do. I think you would agree.
Yeah,
but
I do agree. Okay.
Motivation and where's the money coming from? And why do some sides of the argument get more of that money than others? Do you follow me?
I do, and that is, you're going into politics here. I think one thing that really bothers me is something that you and I used to do. We used to go up north, the Boundary Waters, almost every year, every fall, and go fishing. And one thing that we noticed was year after year, the trees were dying out, the pine trees especially. Fishing was less. There wasn't as many fish in the water that we could catch. We were just maybe bad fishermen. I don't know. But here's the thing. I think there is so much more that we are responsible for that we can change. I just feel very strongly that humans are a very small part in this whole climate, this whole thing. Humans occupy a very small portion of this planet. 1/3 is land. The other 2/3 are water that we're not on. We're not living there. So we're living on this land. And out of that land mass, that 1/3 of this planet, I think we occupy around 10%. So, as humans, we think we're important, but, are we really making an impact? So the things that we can make an impact on are pollution. Carbon is necessary for life. If we didn't have carbon, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't live. Carbon an increase in carbon in the atmosphere has been proven that it helps plants grow better. Plants, 250 million years ago had a lot of carbon, probably more than we have in the atmosphere now, and they flourished. So here's the deal. I think that we should spend a lot of the money that we're spending on climate change, global warming, spend it on something that we can impact, and that is acid rain. Acid rain diminished what you and I used to enjoy every year when we go into the Northland. And, sulfuric acid comes out of sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is one of the main after effects of steel production. So sulfur dioxide, when mixed with water, rain, it becomes sulfuric acid. Acid rain, killing our forests, killing things. We can change that. We can change that because we know that we're producing that sulfuric acid. We're producing sulfur dioxide. Is there a way that we can spend some of those billions of dollars on finding a way that we can clean that up so that we don't have as much acid rain in this world? There are other things too that I think we should be spending our money on rather than on something that I don't believe we're making a big impact on.
Oh, I appreciate
That's
that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The acidification of the waterways, I imagine that there's some communities that are downwind from those scenarios that you're talking about, those smokestacks or whomever is contributing to the polluted air. Some communities downstream who have lakes that have where the pH has risen to the point where maybe risen is not the right term, acid versus base, but risen to the point where it can't support life, fish, etc. So, let's move on. I think this is a great place to end. I appreciate your perspective, and we could go on and on. Obviously, this is a very hot topic. It will be for probably a mighty long time, and I can see you and I touching base on this one again.
Yep.
Okay, so
For
thank
sure,
you,
man.
Dad.
Thank you, buddy.
Love you, and let's because we sort of dabbled in politics a little bit. Let's talk about that next session. So until then, Dad, take care.
Take care, buddy.